Welcome to the Backyard Bouquet podcast, where stories bloom from local flower fields and home gardens. I'm your host, Jennifer Galizia of the Flowering Farmhouse. I'm a backyard gardener turned flower farmer located in Hood River, Oregon. Join us for heartfelt journeys shared by flower farmers and backyard gardeners. Each episode is like a vibrant garden, cultivating wisdom and joy through flowers. From growing your own backyard garden to supporting your local flower farmer, the Backyard Bouquet is your fertile ground for heartwarming tales and expert cut flower growing advice. All right, flower friends, grab your gardening gloves, garden snips, or your favorite vase because it's time to let your backyard bloom. Welcome to a special bonus episode of the Backyard Bouquet podcast. Today, we're excited to welcome back Marryn Mathis from the Farmhouse Flower Farm in Stanwood, Washington, to celebrate a very special occasion. Marryn has just launched the pre-order for her new book, Pea School, which is set to be released on February 25th, 2025. This book is a treasure trove of insights into growing, nurturing, and saving seeds from one of the garden's most beloved flowers, the sweet pea. Marryn is here today to give us a sneak peek into her book and share some tips on saving sweet pea seeds, a timely topic for gardeners preparing for the next growing season. So whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out with sweet peas, you're in for a treat. Marryn, thank you for joining us again. Congratulations on the pre-launch of your new book.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I can't believe it's out there in the world.
Oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. I know you put so much time and energy and you've truly poured your heart and soul into this book.
It's truly been a labor of love. So much so. I look back at the last year and this year I have such a connection and there's just been so much emotion in the sweet pea patch this year. And I feel like my book it's a love letter of sorts to my favorite flower. And I can't wait for everyone to read it.
Well, I have pre-ordered my copy.
Thank you.
I am so excited to get my copy in February. I know that's a ways out from now, but the reason we brought you on here today is because this is pretty timely. People's sweet pea season is coming to an end throughout at least the Pacific Northwest.
Right. Yeah. Now is the perfect time. If you want to invest in next year's garden, start with sweet pea seeds. They're really easy to save your own seed and they come back true. So sweet pea seeds are what we call in the seed world selfers. So they don't cross pollinate. So you don't have to worry about your varieties mixing or crossing. If you have, blue shift, the seeds that you save off of blue shift will be blue shift next year. So they're a really good investment in next year's garden. And also they make great gifts for, friends and family, to share, your garden with other people as well, not just the flowers, but the seeds.
Is it hard to save sweet pea seeds?
It's actually quite easy. I call it the sandpaper test. So when you can let your sweet peas go to seed by just stop cutting them. It's that easy. And the petals will fall off and then they will form pods and the seeds form within those pods, just like they would with sugar snap peas or any other pea that you're collecting in your garden. You obviously don't want to eat sweet pea seeds, but so they go from being green to brown. And when those seeds are mature on the inside, the outside of the pod will dry. And if you scratch the surface of it, it will start to sound like sandpaper. And so if you pop that seed pod open, you'll see those little dark chocolate, brown seeds, just like they would be, the same as when you planted them. And then they're ready for harvest. And you just store them in a cool, dry location. You can freeze them. And sweet peas will store for, up to 15 years if they're stored correctly. So don't feel like you have to use all those seeds in one season. But they are a really good investment in next year's garden just to save, even if it's just a few pods.
That is a really great tip. I did not know you can save them for up to 15 years.
Yeah. So you just stick them in a Ziploc baggie and put them in your freezer and they'll stay good for a really long time.
Wow. That is amazing. So if I have some that I harvested last year that are
Mm-hmm.
sitting in a brown baggie right now that I didn't plant this year, do you think they're still good, or should I be getting them in the freezer now for next year? What would you suggest?
I would you could put them in the freezer because the longer that they're left outside, the germination rate will go down. So, like I said, if they're stored correctly, they will last up to 15 years. But if you've got them in a cool, dry location, you should be just fine if they're, only a year old. Now, if they're like 5, 6, 7 years old and they've never been in a freezer, then, I would probably do a germ test on those just to see, what their viability is. But I say get them in the freezer sooner than later.
Perfect. I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah.
When it comes to saving the seeds, you said that if you just leave them on the branch, they will start, instead of harvesting them, if you just let them go to seed, they'll start to dry out. Do you keep watering the plants during that time, or do you stop or turn off the water so they start to dry out? What is recommended?
I would keep watering them until they get really, really brown, and then you can shut off the water. I mean, it's totally up to you. I have vines that I've still been collecting seed off of and haven't watered for 2 months, believe it or not. So, they'll still keep, doing their thing, and the seed pods will still keep maturing. But right as when you make that decision to go from cutting your flowers to collecting your seeds, I would still keep watering them for a while after that. But then, once they kind of, you're seeing a ton of pods, and then, you're really starting to harvest a lot of seed, and you're not seeing any flowers, and really most of the green is gone, you don't have to water them any longer.
Perfect. What about if it rains outside? Do you have to worry about rain damaging the seed pods?
If they're open, you do have to worry about rain damaging the actual seeds inside. They're pretty protected on the outside. Those pods are pretty thick. But if they are cracked, if you've had, like lately, we've had a lot of heat here, which, is cracking the pods quite, they're just popping like crazy. But we're harvesting on the daily here, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. So I would, really harvest on a regular basis so that you can avoid that. But yeah, just if they're cracked open and they get damp inside, that can really affect them. But on the regular, they're pretty protected.
Perfect. What about as you're harvesting them? Are you cutting off the entire pod, or are you popping them open out in the field? What do you recommend for harvesting?
I'm literally just picking the pod and putting it in my brown paper bag or my Rubbermaid container, whatever I'm using. So when you're storing your sweet pea seeds, you want to make sure that you're putting them in a bag of some sort that's breathable, or a container of some sort that's breathable. I like to use those big paper bags that you get at the grocery store, so that I'm just harvesting my pods right into that. And then you make sure that you fold over the top. So you just want to make sure that they're not going to sweat, and you're not putting them in a container where it's going to retain moisture, because mold will set in, and then you're going to lose all of your seeds, which, is a huge bummer. So I just pick the pods right off the vine, put them right into that brown paper sack, and then I fold over the top, because as pods dry out, they will crack, and the seed tends to fling quite far, actually. So you want to make sure that anything that you're harvesting, it doesn't have a chance to escape the container, so that it's not crossing into a different variety. But yeah, a breathable container is a huge, huge part of collecting sweet pea seeds.
Perfect. That's good to know. I know I once lost an entire variety because I didn't let them breathe, and they got moldy when I went back to them like a month later.
Yeah.
Nice white mold growing all over them.
And if they're, you can keep those pods. If they're dry, you can keep them in that paper bag, until it's wintertime and you're ready to, shuck those seeds or whatever. Don't feel like you have to get them out of those pods, right away. Especially here on the farm, when we have 32,000 sweet pea plants, we're harvesting a lot of seed, and there's no way that we can, shuck it right away. So sometimes we'll be, sitting in front of the TV at night. We're, popping the seeds out of the pods. But yeah, it's as long as they're dry, that's the key, so they don't mold.
Okay, you just said you have 32,000 plants.
Yeah.
Oh my
I went
gosh.
a little crazy. Yeah. 32,000 sweet pea plants this year. This is the most we've ever grown. the most we've ever grown. And I can't wait to do even more next year. It's, they say that dahlias are an addiction. And for me, I feel like sweet peas are just as much.
Wow.
But yeah, I can't wait. There's so many good varieties. How do you cut anybody, out? I can't say no to any of them. So we're growing 137 varieties here this year. And then I've also got my trial varieties as well. So those have been really, really fun to see some new varieties and some new colors.
When you say trial varieties, what do you mean?
So those are just really, really small quantities, ones that I've been able to get 10 seeds of that I've never seen before. Those are, trials. And then I see, how they do, what their colors are, what the stem length, the flower, the bloom, the fragrance, all of those kinds of things. And then I'll collect the seed off of those and hopefully grow out even more. Because some of those cherished varieties you can't get very many seeds of. So it's not like I can grow 100-foot row of, something that has never been grown in the US before, or you've never even heard of before. So that's been really fun.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. So
Oh,
does that
yeah.
mean that some of those trialing ones you'll have even more of next year? So maybe in 2
Yeah.
years we might see
Yeah.
those for sale?
Yes, absolutely. There's one, Elizabeth Shorthouse grew this year. I absolutely love her. I feel like she's going to be a new blush that is really going to catch on like wildfire once people really, start seeing a lot of her and she gets, more introduced into the mainstream. All the other ones. You're making me pick favorites. Esme Rowena was another one that I grew for the first time this year. She was a really light purple, kind of has an opalescence to her, and I absolutely loved her. So those two were my top faves in the trial garden this year.
So we should be taking notes to make sure that we're
Take
ready
notes.
for those in about 2 years from now.
Yeah. Elizabeth Shorthouse and Esme Rowena. Yes.
Awesome.
I think
Thank
I'm
you for
pronouncing
those
that
tips.
right. Oh, yeah.
So people that are saving their seeds this year from their sweet peas, you mentioned that sometimes if they go too far, the seeds will start to pop out of the pods. And so they'll kind of self-sow at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. They can. And just because there's so much force behind a sweet pea pod that's cracking open, it'll look like little pigtails, right? They kind of like spiral. Sometimes the seed is actually stuck within that pod. So I never, even if it looks like there isn't any seed left, I always pick those pods just to make sure that, I'm catching every available seed. But yes, if they fly, they could, sprout up somewhere else in your garden. The birds might eat them, that kind of thing. So you just never know.
So it's probably not a very reliable way to sow your garden for the following season.
No, I wouldn't rely on them. Especially, I mean, they can fly a long ways. You'd be surprised at how how far they can be launched out of those pods. So your sweet pea seeds could be, in your veggie patch next year. You just don't even know.
Okay. So that's okay. I won't let them go to seed where they just sow themselves. That doesn't sound very reliable. So harvesting them when they're turning brown and they're starting to pop open, putting them in a breathable bag or a container, and then holding them throughout the winter in a dry location.
Correct.
If you're going to use them that next season.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to use them that next season, even if you're going to use them that next season, I would recommend a freezer more.
Okay.
So then, just keeping them in a cool, dry location. Just because, you want to make sure that germination rate is staying high and that they're happy and they're dormant. But yeah, sweet pea seeds are really easy to harvest. And you just want to make sure the key with sweet pea seeds, you want to make sure there isn't any green on the seeds. So I always tell, my sweet pea school students, when we're talking about seed harvesting, is that you want them to be any green on them is what's going to happen is that seed isn't going to mature properly. And it's actually going to, if you've ever seen sweet pea seeds where they're shriveled a little bit, that's the reason, is because they were harvested a little bit too soon. So don't be afraid to pop those seed pods open and actually see what's happening on the inside, because different varieties mature at different rates. So you can have a seed pod that looks like it's got maybe a little bit of green on the outside, but it feels dry to the touch. And then you open it up and the seed is brown and ripe and ready to harvest. So, always experiment with maybe a couple pods just to see, what that variety is doing. And there's some varieties that just take forever to mature, and you're going to be harvesting all the way into October, that
Oh,
seed
wow.
off of those
Okay.
plants. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those tips. I am sure that so many people listening will find those so helpful. I know I only have a few more minutes with you before you have to run back out in the field and keep harvesting sweet peas. Can you tell us what was your favorite part about writing your book?
Oh man. What surprised me with my book was just all of the emotion that really poured out of me in writing it. My favorite part, to be honest with you, is that it pushed me out of my comfort zone. I think it's really easy to just be in a comfortable place where, you kind of, you're not challenged. And I was definitely challenged with this, with this project, and writing. And there were days where I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And once I got to the finish line, just to sit back and just look at it and just be like, wow, I actually did it. So I just kept thinking about, there were many things. I kept thinking about where Sweet Pea School started and how it started as in-person workshops just a few short years ago. And now it's turning into a book. I was thinking about my grandma, and, she was the first person that I told about the book when she was in the hospital, and her heart was failing. And her last words to me was that she was proud of me. And I feel like, she was in some ways sitting right next to me as I was writing. So yeah, many different emotions, but also one of the most important things with this book is that I said earlier, I wanted it to be a love letter to my favorite flower. And my goal with this book is just to simply inspire people to grow sweet peas and to get more sweet peas out into the world. And I hope I check all those boxes. And I hope that, whether you've never grown sweet peas before and you're like, yes, these are beautiful, I want to give it a try, or whether you've grown sweet peas before and you've struggled, I hope that you find, more information inside to, possibly change how you've done things or improve how you've done things in the past, or just for sweet pea lovers that, they have had sweet peas in their gardens for years and they just simply love the flowers. So we go through every step of the way. We go from my journey with sweet peas, the history of sweet peas, the different types of sweet peas, step by step, how to grow sweet peas. And then we move into arranging with sweet peas and how just adding a few stems can, elevate your arrangements and bouquets. And then I go into my favorite varieties. So it's a really wide range of everything you need to know about sweet peas. And I just want people to, when they read it, know that it's so much more to me than a book or a class. It's more about the flowers. It's about the flowers and getting them back, into people's gardens and just really showcasing the sweet pea in a beautiful way. And I hope we've done that. So I'm really excited.
I'm so excited for you. And I seriously can't wait to see the book in person. It's going to be magical. And just hearing you describe it, it sounds like your love letter has truly flourished with the book. So congratulations, Marryn. I think it's coming out at the perfect time too, because it's coming out in February. So that means that people will be just getting started with sweet peas for 2025.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people will be sowing their seeds in February. So yeah, the timing is really good. And so hopefully that'll be just just in time to be able to walk people through, sowing their seeds and getting started, so that they can be really successful with sweet peas.
Well, yes, you are going to help so many people be successful. I can't wait to hear all the success stories that come out of your book. For those that have listened today and would like to go pre-order your book, can you tell them where they should buy your book?
Oh, sure. So Sweet Pea School is available wherever books are sold. So your independent bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble bookstore. We have it available on our website as well. So wherever you usually buy your books, it should be available for pre-order. And yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
And we were talking offline, there might be a tour also.
We're working on some details, yes.
So people should
Yeah.
stay tuned. They could bring their pre-ordered copy and get an autograph maybe from you.
Yeah, stay tuned. So if you want Sweet Pea School to come to a city near you, let me know.
Well, I've been pushing for Hood River, so I hope to see you on your tour. I can't wait. Or otherwise I'll make a trip up to Seattle.
Oregon is on the list, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Marryn, I'm so happy and excited for you. I know you've just truly poured your heart and soul, and it's been a family affair bringing this together. So congratulations.
Thanks, Jen. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Well, I will let you get back to harvesting your seeds today, and we'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, flower friends, for joining us on another episode of The Backyard Bouquet. I hope you've enjoyed the inspiring stories and valuable gardening insights we've shared today. Whether you're cultivating your own backyard blooms or supporting your local flower farmer, you're contributing to the local flower movement, and we're so happy to have you growing with us. If you'd like to stay connected and continue this blossoming journey with local flowers, don't forget to subscribe to the Backyard Bouquet podcast. I'd be so grateful if you would take a moment to leave us a review of this episode. And finally, please share this episode with your garden friends. Until next time, keep growing, keep blooming, and remember that every bouquet starts right here in the backyard.